Well, welcome everybody to week 2 of our September online program for the alumni of the Sunshine Coast Health Center up here in Powell River, British Columbia. And this month our theme is, the conference that Sunshine Coast sponsored, and particularly 4 of the speakers who can tell us something about how to get good recovery from substances. And last week we talked about Dr. Todd Kashtan, and this week we're going to talk about Dr. Alex Pattakos. Now, Dr. Pattakos is an interesting fellow. He calls himself a recovering academic. He used to be a university professor and all that, and he's given all that up, and now he does writes a lot of popular material. Probably his most famous book is called Prisoners of Our Thoughts, and this is a very interesting book. It's actually about meaning and purpose in the workplace. But essentially, Dr. Pattakos, what he does is he takes Viktor Frankl's theories and sort of melts them down so that people like you and I can understand them. So he talked about several things, and he's just to give you an idea of his sort of fame in this area. I think somebody gave him the name Dr. Meaning once, but anyway, Fanny Kiefer, a local television station, has a local television show here, found out about him and actually invited him for an interview. So he spent an hour with Fanny Kiefer and then came to the conference. All right. Of all the things Dr. Pattakos talked about, I think one is really important. And this is the idea of choosing the right attitude towards life. If you remember from your time here at Sunshine Coast, we talked about Viktor Frankl's sort of little method to find meaning and purpose in life. And he talked about this triangle of things, these 3 things that you're going to need. One of them is to create something, to give something back to the world, whether that's a job or as a good neighbor or as a good husband or good boyfriend, whatever you want to do, right? But to give something back to the world is one of the keys. A second key is to take something from the world. So to look around you and start appreciating what's going on. For example, some of the fellows here had a concert last month, and so they were giving something to the other fellows by playing their music, and the other fellows were taking something from their music, right? Or a child's smile, right? It's not you doing the smiling, it's the child. So according to Viktor Frankl, your job, if you want to find meaning and purpose in life, is to appreciate that child's smile. Or when you watch a movie, you didn't make the movie, right? But you are taking something from the movie maker, from the director, right? And in all of life, one of Frankl's things is there's all sorts of things you can take from the world if you're open to it. And then Frankl's third point was attitude. And he always talked a great deal about every human being has the choice of what attitude he or she will take towards something. So one of the common examples we've talked about on the online program is, what is the attitude you would take towards the addiction? What is the attitude you'll take towards recovery? If you believe that recovery is going to be, oh God, it's going to be horrible, and oh Jesus, it's going to be a struggle, and I'm going to just have this horrible, horrible time, and oh geez, yeah, I went to the AA meeting and they said, oh, the first year was the easiest. Well, you just wait till the second year, right? And oh geez, this is what I'm in for. Right? But that's an attitude. And that Viktor Frankl said was always a choice. And so Dr. Pattakos very often comments about what attitude do you take towards something. And so in your recovery, I mean, this is one of those big things you have to make a choice about. Is recovery, is the attitude that, wow, this is a chance for a fantastic life. And so I'm going to do this stuff, whatever, go to meetings, keep away from slippery places, all of these things. I'm going to do all this so that I can achieve this great life. Or are you going to choose a negative attitude and say, oh man, I can't go out drinking anymore. God, life is so boring, it sucks. And the attitude, according to Frankel, will dictate, how well you find meaning and purpose in your life. But anyway, stuff to think about, right? Anyway, again, you can Google Alex Pattakos, Dr. Meaning. And I'm sure for those of you in BC, Fanny Kiefer will no doubt rerun her 1-hour interview with him. And he can talk more, or you can go buy his book. But he's another speaker at the conference who is kind of interesting in the sense that although he talks about workplace things, a lot of his ideas actually are very applicable to recovery, and particularly this idea of attitude. Anyway, that's our online program for this week, and we'll see you next week with tell you about another speaker there.